Hi everyone, it's Mr. Tristan and welcome to episode 11 of our Survivor 50 recap. Now, where we left off, everybody was leaving one of the craziest tribals ever, where Rick Devens put his Survivor game on the line in order to boost the prize pot from $1 million to $2 million, which is still crazy to this point. So the next morning, Rick gets up and he starts doing this nice little dance sequence, which is honestly the best part of the episode. Like, he's dancing everywhere. He's dancing down this trail, he's dancing at the beach, he's dancing at the water well, and he has his little thing where people like get the water from the well, and he's spilling water all over the place. But I didn't care. That was very entertaining to watch. And he also got to take a look at his idol, which for the first time, this is not a Billie Eilish boomerang idol. It's just a regular idol. So back at camp, everybody was basically in a good mood, except for Joe and Jonathan. Joe just does not really like the way Rick lies, which, I mean, in Survivor, you have to lie. That's part of the game. And Jonathan's not happy because he had this plan to try to take out Ozzy, but after the whole Mr. Beast thing, it was all ruined and Stephanie got voted out. So I don't understand what Joe's problem is. Like, I know Joe does not play Survivor like this, but that's why Joe lost 48. I feel like with his performance and challenges in 48, if Joe were to play a little bit differently than he did, he probably would have had a chance to win. But he's still trying to play the same game he did, which does not really work. You know, when you play Survivor and you lose, you think about what made you lose, and you come back for another time, you start reevaluating your situation or reevaluating how you play the game in order to improve yourself. Meanwhile, Tiffany wants to go after Rizzo and Ozzy because they still have their idols. Cirie does not want them to go out, but she thinks that if they could get them to get rid of their idols and still keep them in the game, that would work out in their favors. And meanwhile, Rick and Emily are actually considering a plan to take out either Joe or Cirie because they're both like big players. Well, Cirie mostly, because I think out of all the players left, I think Cirie has the best shot of winning. Also, Ozzy actually opened up to Rick Devens about the loss of his father and talking about how hard he was on him because he lived in a different country. He wasn't there for most of his life. And, you know, Rick kind of shared about why he wanted to be a dad and told Ozzy that his dad is proud of him. And I'm not going to lie, that scene definitely made me cry. And Ozzy has never made me cry watching him on Survivor, but that time he really did. Ozzy also talked about wanting to play a different game than he did in the past. I still have yet to see it, but who knows. So we get to the immunity challenge, which is this classic one where everybody's standing on some sort of doghouse-shaped thing over the water. And this challenge, I don't even know if I could even do, because my balance is not bad, but there's also the added element that it's in the water, so it's just going to be like wobbling. So yeah, Cirie was the first one to go out because she couldn't make one of the live transitions. And when it got to the point where everybody had to stand on one foot, everybody started falling until Tiffany was the last one standing. So she, well, initially won, but then there was a little issue. When Jeff counted everyone down to stand on one foot, Tiffany did not lift her foot off the structure. So Tiffany was disqualified. So the next person was Jonathan. So Jonathan won the immunity challenge. And this one was big for Jonathan because there was another twist. So the other 8 players would be divided into 2 groups of 4. And Jonathan doesn't get to be in a group, but he gets to visit both groups because he was going to both tribal councils because both groups were voting somebody out. So 2 more people were going home in this episode. So group 1 consisted of Rick, Tiffany, Emily, and Cirie. Group 2 consisted of Aubrey, Rizzo, Ozzy, and Joe. So Group 1's target is Rick Devens because, he has his idol, and he's like one of the bigger players that's always so chaotic wanting to make moves. But because they know that he had an idol, they decide to split the votes between him and Emily. Emily comes up with this bizarre plan that, she's telling everyone that she could get Rick Devens to play his idol on her, so they would put all the votes on Rick. But meanwhile, Rick and Emily would use this as an opportunity to take out Cirie. But what they did not know was that Cirie had an extra vote. And she was actually deciding whether or not she was going to play it at this tribal council. Meanwhile, Tiffany tells Jonathan that he needs to take out Ozzy on the other side. They tell Cirie, which upsets her because, unlike all the other times Cirie's been told that Ozzy is a target, she can't warn Ozzy because they're on different groups. And the groups are not allowed to interact with each other. The only way it could work is through Jonathan. Now in Group 2, it seemed like the obvious target was Aubrey. But for some strange reason, Ozzy decided to reveal his entire plan to Aubrey, where Ozzy would tell her that, he wants to go to the end with Cirie, and then reveals that Cirie has an extra vote. And basically, he's acting like Aubrey's already on the jury and he's presenting his final tribal speech. Aubrey uses this information and went to Rizzo and Joe. And Rizzo and I had the same reaction where we're both smacking our foreheads being like, Ozzy, what are you doing? Here's how I think about this. Ozzy just loaded the shotgun and then handed it over to Aubrey and let her take the shot. That's essentially what happened. Aubrey later tells Jonathan about it, and Jonathan is obviously on board to take out Ozzy, but Joe still wants to take out Aubrey. Cirie tells Jonathan that he needs to let Joe talk to Rizzo in an attempt to save Ozzy, because Cirie, Rizzo, and Ozzy are a part of that alliance, like Cirie's Wizard of Oz, something like that. Upon talking to Joe, Rizzo contemplates whether he wants to vote out Ozzy or Aubrey. Rizzo knows that if he votes out Ozzy, Cirie's not going to be happy. But at the same time, if he does vote for Ozzy, that could help Rizzo's game. It shows that Rizzo is willing to play his own game. So we go to Group 1's tribal with Rick, Emily, Tiffany, and Cirie, and Jonathan, since, he got to be in both tribals. So when the votes came down, Cirie did play her extra vote, and Rick Devens played his idol on himself, and when the votes came out, there were 2 votes for Rick that didn't count, and then the vote was tied 2-2 between Emily and Cirie. Now, usually in a revote, the people that are in the tie don't vote, but this time everybody was allowed to vote, and because Cirie played her extra vote, she got to vote twice in the revote. Never really understood that, but when the votes for the revote came down, the vote was 4-2. Emily was voted out, and I instantly was like, yes! Oh, yes! I was so happy because I wanted Emily out for so long. I said every single episode how much I wanted her out, and they finally got her, and I was happy. By the way, this was day 21 of Survivor 50, and in Survivor 45, Emily was voted out on day 21. So history repeats itself. I mean, hey. So with Group 2 going to Tribal, I was expecting Ozzy to play his idol because he's been saying this whole episode he was going to play the idol. He even mentioned that he had a nightmare where he was voted out with the idol in his pocket, and he didn't want to make that same mistake happen again. But when the votes came out, Ozzy did not play his idol, and the vote was 4-1. Ozzy got voted out. Oh my god. Once again, history repeats itself, because if anybody knows, in Survivor Micronesia, Fans versus Favorites, Ozzy was voted out with an idol in his pocket. And now this time, Survivor 50, he gets voted out with an idol in his pocket again. And Ozzy is just dumbfounded. Like, he was just standing there with his torch, with Jeff ready to snuff it, and Ozzy's just standing there like, so sad. I thought I trusted you guys. And meanwhile, I was just like, come on, Ozzy, it's over. You know, you've had your torch snuffed many times. Like, come on, get it over with. So yeah, Emily and Ozzy have been voted out, and ironically, they were the only two that I would not have been happy to see win. So I gotta say, this was the best episode of the season. Now, normally this is where I go to be like, what do I think about them getting voted out? I think I've already expressed how I feel about them getting voted out, but I'll just go ahead and talk about it anyway. So with Emily, I thought it was a very questionable choice as to why she was chosen to come back for Survivor 50. I think maybe the reason that she came back is because she is a rather messy and chaotic player. I mean, some people like messy players, but the way Emily plays, I just have never been a fan. And when I saw her like nearly throw Christian's game away, I was furious. I mean, I even said if Christian did not dump Emily as an ally, she was going to be the reason for his downfall. Which I ended up being wrong, because it wasn't Emily that destroyed Christian's game. It was rather Christian himself. But if there's one thing about Emily, it's that she does not know how to keep a secret. And in doing so, that ends up ruining other people's games. So it's like, if I were on a Survivor game with Emily, like, I want to just stay far away, because I just know that she probably would have messed up my own game. And now Ozzy, this guy's been a part of Survivor for 20 years, and this guy tends to play the same exact way. You know, he's the kind of guy that's like so arrogant, so full of himself, and when a vote does not go his way, he throws a temper tantrum. I mean, I get not being happy about being left out of a vote, but that's part of the game, and you gotta learn to deal with it. I know a lot of people are like big fans of Ozzy, and they're like really upset that he's out, but I mean, I'm happy. So now there's 7 people left in the game, and to be honest, it's anybody's game. I think all of them have a really good shot of winning if they get to the end. Well, maybe not Joe. I mean, I want to say I'm wrong about that, because I still really love Joe, but Joe is just messing up his game. So I'm starting to have a little less faith in him. But Aubrey is doing fantastic. I mean, she was the clear target in this episode, and she managed to take the information that was given to her by Ozzy and flipped it on him. She took the shot and she hit her target, thanks to Ozzy. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. And if you haven't already, subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!